Yeah, that's right. I haven't been yet.
Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'll put this article in the chat box. I don't know if I've handed it to you before or not, but as the title entails in the link, Japan is not a market where you go to make money. It is, where's chat? There's chat. It is a place where you work hard and try your best to make connections. And 1 second. Okay. Okay. Um, and so, are you familiar with the Japanese word called giri? So Giri. Basically,
No.
it in English it would corresponds to the phrase of back scratching. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. And so a lot of musicians approach the Japanese market or want to approach the Japanese market with I play music, you scratch my back kind of way of thinking. And that doesn't fly here. You actually have to get in and do some real work and effort. So part of the explanation that Paul will give today focuses on exactly how you can do that. So Japanese culture is very much a group thinking type of mentality. Trust is crucial, and business people want to avoid risk. The Japanese are very risk aversive. Unless your professional Japanese language is fluent, it will be very hard to make contacts and get gigs. You also need referrals and contacts from any companies that you have. Basically, you need clout if you want to get somewhere. If you don't have clout, you must start from the bottom. And basically, anything that you do, not just music, but anything you do, you have to start from the bottom. Headhunting is kind of fairly rare in Japan. So everyone has to prove their worth. Once you've proved it and you make connections, you have friends for life, literally. But you have to do the groundwork. Then once you get to that higher level, you can proceed, you can make money, and you can do business. But again, you have to do the legwork, and you have to do it enthusiastically and with dedication. So I'd like to introduce Paul. Um, Paul has, I just learned, been to Japan about seven times, played as a musician 4 times. And Paul, if you could just explain kind of your background and why you have come to Japan so much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Duane, for that introduction. Actually, I've been sneaking in and out of Japan more than you know, and I must be well over 24 visits. Some of them I didn't want you to know because I didn't want you to be concerned about what I was doing. But nothing bad, just enjoying life. So, hello there. My name is Paul. I've been working with Duane and Shalestone Music since 2022. Duane says, I'm from near San Francisco, California. I'm a musician. I've been a musician all my life. I started playing guitar at age 14. I became a professional at 18, and I'm now in my 21st year of being a music professional, going on 22 years. I've released 10 albums. I've won several music awards. all across the USA. I've toured, and in these past 2 years, I've branched out and been doing a lot of international tours and appearances, including Japan, a place that I love. So I performed in Europe, the UK, all across USA. A long time ago, I performed in Vietnam, but my focus is on Japan. It's a place that I really like personally. I have friends there, and I enjoy the culture. So, like most Americans, my first experience or first introduction to Japan was from ramen, instant ramen as a child, and then eating real ramen noodle soup later on as a teenager. And then secondly was from the movie The Karate Kid. You know what I'm talking about, Duane?
Of course.
The Karate Kid is a very famous American movie, introduced us to the actor Pat Morita playing this character named Mr. Miyagi. So my interest in Japan had been sparked while traveling around on a vacation. I had a layover in Tokyo, an 8-hour layover. So I spent the time riding the train and going into the city. I went to Ueno Station, and looked around, and I liked it. So I said, I can't wait to come back. When I was in grad school, working on my master's degree, my classmate was Japanese. And so after graduation, my friend, I said, well, I want to go to Japan and spend time with you. So this is what I did. After graduation, I had a 2-week vacation in Japan. I spent about 2 weeks all around Tokyo, a few days going over to Kyoto, and then coming back before going home. So I just visited Japan as a tourist on a personal level, spending time with my friends, and just learning about and experiencing it. So it's a place I really like. And from that point, I said, wow, I want to learn Japanese. I want to be able to speak and read and get more into this culture. This is something interesting to me. So from then on, I've been studying to speak Japanese and to be able to read and write. Not actually handwrite. It's very, very hard. I can do a little bit, but just typing, typing with text messages by smartphones. So the Japanese music industry is different, and I could see that right away, but I've been learning the more fine details of it over these past 2-3 years. As a professional musician in the United States, I understood the music industry there, and I've been one of the lucky few who's made a decent living off of it. I've always derived my main income or my sole income from music, playing lots of gigs, selling CDs, receiving royalties and money like that, all these years. And even now, branching out into Europe, I have received similar conditions where I'm getting paid fees and earning money and things like that. Our markets have a value and an economy behind music, even at an entry-level position. Even for people without fame or acclaim, there is an economy there for musical artists. I would say that is not the case in Asia. From my brief experience of seeing Vietnam, there is no money on the bottom for entry-level people, and the same in Japan. But then when I've been to Japan several times doing many different things, I finally said, I want to go there and do music. I want to perform music and just share that. I love music. I love performing it. I love listening to it. And it's something that I just want to share with my friends and the people I knew there. So it was, but then coronavirus hit, so I was kind of stuck. After the coronavirus and all the lockdowns and shutdowns and things, then I said, that's my goal. So I had reached out to the event, Kansai Music Conference, from which I met Duane. And luckily, I also had a referral to him. As we had a mutual friend, Mr. David Whitaker, who owns and operates the Soul Food House, an American Southern style restaurant in Tokyo, Zabujiban. So while I had been spending time in Tokyo, I used to go over to David's restaurant and eat great food, and once in a while play guitar or just kind of jam or sit in and sing for the people that were there at the restaurant. So through that referral and then meeting Duane, I got to set up my very first official performance as a musical artist, my career in Japan at the Kansai Music Conference in September of 2022. And then I've continued to work with Duane, and we've completed 4 tours now in partnership with Stone Music, and we're looking at planning our 5th and even a 6th, which will be 1 year out from now.
Yeah, actually, Paul, you'll be joining, fingers crossed, you'll be joining Simon at the expo for next year. So Simon, Paul is one of the musicians who's like, no, I don't need no, I'm paying. So he's
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows? I might end up paying as well, but we'll see.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to hear that we'll be performing together next year as well, Paul. Yeah.
I'll support the fundraising efforts. I don't mind if people want to pay for me, but I definitely see value in the expo event. I see value in being part of Kansai Music Conference. So I want to guarantee and secure my spot now. That's something I see value in it, and I see fun and interest in it. I think it's an experience that you will love and treasure for the rest of your life.
I think so. It looks like an amazing event, the expo. Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
So sticking kind of with what you were saying, Paul, as far as the US, Europe, Western markets, musicians kind of basically they create their own career and work and actually get paid money. Of course, not everyone, but it is possible. But in Japan, it's just music is a hobby, pretty much.
Right.
Some artists are able to, work in the music industry, but actually one thing that most people don't know is that a musician, a professional musician in Japan is an actual employee of their company.
Mm-hmm.
So
entertainers in Japan are like, it's like a salaried job, with sort of hours and a schedule and a basic salary, and you're told to go here, do
exactly,
this,
exactly.
It's very, very structured.
Key thing is you are told. It's not your career, it's the company's career, and they're directing you what to do. So,
and Duane, is that like the record label is the company in this context?
Yes.
Yeah. Record labels are entertainment companies, these big things there. So
Agents,
just like similar to the West, it's a record company connected to a media company, TV channel, all of that, a conglomerate. And then the branch that handles music, you'll become an employee of that. A good example that I'd stumbled across recently that I learned about, but apparently he's an American singer and a songwriter named Chris Hart. He's a Black American. He speaks and sings in Japanese, so he sings J-pop, and he's become a star over in Japan. So it's the case of a Westerner who did move to Japan and make a successful career. So I've just been learning and reading about him.
Right. Yeah, it again, it is possible. But I mean, to tell you the honest truth, I guess maybe 95% of Western musicians would not be happy with that lifestyle. Because it's your music, you want to do what you want to do, and to be told, okay, you go there, no, it's not going to be like that. You're going to do what I say, and this, it's like, why did I come here?
It sounds a little bit like very successful American people who are signed to Sony and BMG as well, I guess.
Yeah. Right. The stories you hear about people that came out of like the TV shows like The Voice or American Idol, they get locked up into these contracts. Lady Gaga was like, oh, I had to do what they told me, and I didn't like it. Westerners, particularly Americans, were very free thinking. They're like, we want to do whatever we want to do, and we can't wait to break out of our contract or be able to dissolve it or something so we can be free. But in Japan, if you have that type of a rebellious attitude, you'll be fired or let go or ignored, and then it'll be hard to continue on after that. So you have to be able to accept the mindset of that, the group thing. You move along with the group and with the leaders, and you come to these group decisions where everybody agrees and is happy, and you follow them. You follow the plans.
Right. And so looking at that, with that kind of contrast of mentality, Paul, what is your advice in terms of building a fan base? If you kind of come in with an independent way of thinking and you want to gain the Japanese fan base, how do you, what's your take on building a fan base?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of that now, completing, have completed 4 tours, looking into doing more. My very first performance, I think I actually had only one person show up, and the other people were staff and staff connected invites. But gradually, people have, by working closely with, so Duane has connected me to venues. The venue manager assists in the promotion of the event, as well as I do promotions through my social media and email and websites and whatnot, to reach people. And then something that I have, maybe a slight advantage, is that from my years of just visiting Japan as a tourist and having friends there, I kind of networked with my friends and said, hey, friends, if you can, come support me, come see my shows, which has maybe brought in 1 or 2 more here and there. It's not much, but it helps. At least it makes some relevance, How to make fans is, that is the $1 million question. But I've at least, I know this is that when you finally do get that, when you do get that chance to perform, you've gotten it, you're there, you're on stage, an event has happened, whether it's 1 person or 30 people that have showed up or 100 people that have showed up, give them a great performance, be deep and sincere in your, give them the best. Japan has a high expectation of service. Service and hospitality in Japan is excellent. And likewise, they would expect that from artists as well. So give the audience great quality service, give them a great performance. And, and then afterward, after the performance, before and after and during, be friendly, smile, make yourself open and available so that people feel safe and comfortable to come and say hi to you. They might be nervous and afraid to talk to you because they may not speak English, or they might speak just a little English, but they're so shy to even try. So you want to be very gentle, very slow moving, and very open and friendly so that they can feel comfortable to approach you. And then you have that chance to, like, hello, thank you for coming to see my show. I'm Paul, nice to meet you. What's your name? Little things like that. You can make those connections, make those bonds with your fans, and then hopefully they want to engage with you. And a key is one of the most popular social media in Japan, the most popular, is an app called Line, L-I-N-E. Having a Line account is very useful because most everybody has Line. So if you say, oh, if they ask to connect, or would you like to connect? This is my Line account, then they can friend request you, and then you can be connected so that if you return in the future, you can say, hey, I have a show coming up. I hope you can make it to my show, my concert next month. And this is a great way to, build up your fans and get more and more people coming to your shows. And the second most popular social media is YouTube. So having videos available so that people that haven't seen your show, but you're trying to reach out to them, if they can see it, it's like they can try it before they buy it, kind of a thing. And when people are able to see it and understand what it is, then they might feel inclined to come to your event.
A very good point. Line it's interesting because it's basically it's a texting app, and it was created originally by a Korean company, but I think I don't know, Japan has actually become the main user of Line.
Yeah, well, that's a great example. Look at Line started out as this small little Korean company, It got popular in Japan, and then once it got popular, the big corporate machines of Japan bought it and took it over. They have 50% control of it now from the original Korean company that owns it, and through that they kind of manage and oversee all of its implementation in Japan. That's the way it is. Once you gain the popularity and you've proven value, then the powers that be of Japan will step in and control it and make sure it fits the mold of what is expected.
Exactly. Simon, yes, that's it. However, as I was discussing with Paul before this started, the English version is completely different than the Japanese version. But yeah, getting the English version is a good start, definitely.
Do you mean the version that's available in English-speaking countries, or is it the same app?
Well, so it's basically the same, but it's extremely limited in what you can do with it.
Okay.
Like the Japanese, the actual Japanese version of it, you can line music and line this and line and this option and so on.
Okay.
For the most part, Duane, because I downloaded it in the US, so everything's in English language. I do have pretty much all those types of functions.
Okay.
Music and everything. The problem is it's all in English, so I'm just now learning how to create an official account for my music persona that people can follow, where I'll be able to give my fans updates on new music releases and updates on upcoming concerts. But I have to change everything and translate it into Japanese, so that'll be posting in Japanese, because obviously I'm going to focus my Line account in the Japanese language, because that is the people using Line are Japanese people.
Right.
Japanese.
But yeah, I would definitely say do register. If you're coming to Japan, do get a Line account, because if someone comes up to you, do you have a Line account? Hey, how can we? You don't want to say, oh, how about Facebook? Facebook is like headed into the toilet, pretty much. TikTok is the lowest, Facebook is the next, and then I think X, formerly Twitter, has dropped because of that change. And
Twitter was
Instagram,
more popular in the past.
Yeah,
but Twitter has fallen a little bit. But I think according to the stats, Instagram is growing slightly.
Yes, Instagram
in the US and both in Japan, it's trending more towards the millennial generation, maybe people born in 1980 or after. It's doing well with that segment, and it is growing a little bit in Japan. But it's far less common, though. Far less common. Everybody in Japan has Line, and only a few people have an Instagram or a Twitter or a Facebook. So my approach is that I want to succeed, so I have all of them, and I keep all of them active and up to date. And so now I will also be engaging deeper and more focused with the Line app.
Sure.
It seems you can also.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say about Lime that you can also share music on it, or have your music listed on it, similar to how it might be on Spotify or something, or is that?
Yeah. Well, Spotify is not as popular in Japan. Not a lot of people have it. So the best thing to do is, when you release music, typically if you release it, you can get it distributed to Spotify and distributed to YouTube. I think I would do this is post an update. Hey fans, and post it in both Japanese and English. Hey fans, here's my latest single, or here's my latest album. Here's the link to YouTube. They can click that. A YouTube page opens up. They'll be able to listen to it, stream it for free, and hear the entire content. So they'll know if they like it or not. If you give them a Spotify link and they don't have Spotify, sometimes they're not able to play it. They'll get redirected to whatever Spotify is trying to sell them.
Yeah.
At the moment, so it's complicated. But YouTube would be the best way, because it's free and everybody can access it.
Right, and you can also give, if you don't want to kind of release the whole thing, you can give like a sampler.
You can also create samples of your stuff on YouTube. Give little short versions. And with Line, as Duane said, it's basically just a text messaging app. So there's not like there used to be a page where you could create it like what do we call it? A wall, or a wall on Facebook where you scroll up and down and you can see like people's posts from the past, but they got rid of that. Line doesn't have that. All it is it's just a messaging center. So you don't want to message your audience too much, or some of them may get frustrated and unfriend you and unfollow you. But you can post, something appropriately at appropriate levels. Just, hey, here's my upcoming shows. Hey, here's my new music, and it just goes out to everybody as a text message. And most people, 90% of them, are just using the app on their phone. So it's like they're getting a text message, bing, and oh, look at that. My favorite music artist has released a new single or has an upcoming concert next month, or whatever you might be doing. Oh, they just received a new music award, or they're writing a book. Whatever you want to share, with the people that admire your music and your artwork.
Yeah.
So looking at Japanese audiences, typically audiences in Japan can be divided, like much of the personality of Japan, between Tokyo style and Osaka style, Kansai style. Tokyo style is very, well, I don't want to say very, but Tokyo style is much more conservative and quote unquote stiff. And Osaka Kansai is very relaxed and humorous and friendly. How to relate to each of these audiences? What is your advice on that, Paul?
Good question. So as you said, yeah, Osaka is a little more friendly and outgoing, a little more liberal. So with that, I kind of engage with that openness. So in Osaka, my Americanness, my creativity, my extrovertedness is more appreciated. And so I would lean that way in putting myself out with those types of energies. But in Tokyo, a more conservative place, a little more, cold or stiff, you should be a little more formal, a little more professional in your presentation, and just kind of follow the lead, observe the room and the character and the behavior of all the people around and what's going on, and go with that flow. Because I've had when I perform in Osaka, of course they're Japanese people, but it seems like they're a little more open and liberal, a little more loose. I've even seen people getting up and dancing or swaying to the music and clapping their hands, being more extroverted in Osaka. I have rarely seen that in Tokyo. Only maybe in the small music clubs where it's more geared towards the younger audience. But if it's older audiences, they're very traditional, and they'll sit quietly, wait till the song is over, and clap their hands, and that's about the only reaction you'll get.
Kind of, if anyone is connected to me on Facebook, you can take a look at a picture that I posted maybe maybe early June, mid-early June. And it shows a bicycle parking lot in Osaka. It is absolute chaos. Bicycles thrown on top of each other, on the stairs and everywhere else. And I kind of put a joke on it that said, it's not full yet. There's still space on the right side of the stairs. So that is the Osaka personality. Very relaxed. They don't really, they prefer not to follow the rules. And they're very kind of outgoing, out loud and proud is the style. So that's our main point of having KMC in Osaka, because it's very active and vibrant, very receptive to foreign musicians. Moving on, I'd like to go to kind of logistics. Paul, what is your advice or information in terms of transportation, getting around in Japan?
So if you've never been here before, learning how to ride the trains is so hard. It's complicated. It's gonna take a little bit of a practice. Maybe if you're from a place in the world that does have train systems, you might pick up on it quicker. But for me, coming from California, and I live just outside of San Francisco, so my town and my city has no train system whatsoever and very few buses. So to use public transportation was a shocker at first, and I was scared of it. I wouldn't go anywhere until my friends came to help me go places. But once I learned it, I love it. And now I hate that the US is built around driving cars all the time. And I love riding the train system in Japan. And there's so many trains, and it's very convenient all over the major cities such as Osaka, Nagoya, Tokyo, Kyoto, things like that. So, but you have to learn it first. And if you don't learn it, it can be confusing, and it's easy to go the wrong direction. And you could be possibly late to something you were planning to be to. So be very careful. This is where, if it's new to you and you're not sure, definitely reach out to Duane and Shale Music so that you can get somebody to assist you for getting around. And so you're on your feet walking, and you need to travel light because you're on your feet, you're getting in and out of a train. You can't be carrying a lot of big heavy things. You can have maybe a backpack or a guitar on your back, and then another little bag that you can hold in your hands, or a rolling luggage, just the smaller one. I carry around a big luggage, but I'm used to it now. I know what to do. So you can't carry a whole lot with you. But in Japan, a lot of the venues often do supply backline. They'll have a guitar amp. They will have speakers and a PA system. There's something there. It's not always huge or amazing, but venues are small, and you don't need a lot of loud sound anyway. Minimal is best because the places are smaller, audiences are smaller, and also the cultural expectations of volume are much lower. That's definitely a shocker for me when I spend a long time in Japan and I go out to restaurants and places. There might be radio music in the background, but it's very soft. And then when I come home to the USA and I go to a restaurant, the music is booming, boom, 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 boom. So likewise, even concerts and performances, the volume is lower.
Paul, can I just ask exactly what about the train system is complicated? Is it the scheduling, or is it the tickets, like where to buy them, or, you know?
Yes, if you don't get if you get a card, it's easier. You just tap at the gate, you get on the train, go to the place you're going, tap your card again to pay for it, and you're off and running. What's confusing is there's all these different lines with different names, and then different platforms at each station. You have to get to the right platform. Sometimes the train line will occupy multiple platforms. So you might be getting on the correct line, so to speak, like let's call it Chuo line, but Chuo line is operating on platforms 2, 3, and 4. And you might see the sign, oh yeah, I'm going to this place, but it was specifically for platform 4, and you might be standing at platform 3, and oh, here comes the Chuo line. You get on it, and you end up going in the wrong direction.
And there's also the local, the semi-express, the express, something else express. So
yeah, this is another problem, is that the trains, they have multiple stations, but throughout the day, particular commuting hours, sometimes they have a train that's called a special rapid or a limited express. So you might be on the right train, on the right platform, going in the right direction, but you're on the wrong schedule of train. You'll get on a rapid train that is actually going to pass up your stop because it's going to a more popular train station that is good for the commuters. Like, let's say you need to go to Shinbashi, but you're at Tokyo Station, and the train is not going to stop till it gets to Ueno. So you're going to pass up the place you wanted to go. You're going to go too far, then you'll have to catch a train to come back to it. So being aware of those train schedules. What you'll find is that the easiest thing to do is use Google Maps or Apple Maps and say, I want to go to this station, and I'm here and I want to go there. And they tend to give you a good prediction of the schedule. Say, okay, well, if you leave now and you get on this train on this platform at this time, you'll make it. You just have to pay attention to them, and just learning that, the different names of the platforms and the train lines and the station names. It's very hard to learn and remember these station names because it's Japanese language. Higashi Akiru no, or
it's Japan.
Shinsai Bashi, you know, or Umeda. You're learning all these new words that you've never heard in your life. So I'd say most important thing is if you want to come to Japan and you have intention to come here and you want to be successful, the first thing you should do is get familiar with the Japanese language. Many people can speak English, but the majority cannot. So Japan is a unique and beautiful culture that maybe it has pride, and they're at it, this is Japan and this is the Japanese language place. Just like, you know, there are people in the US, so this is America and we should speak English. This is Britain and we should speak English, kind of, you know. So it's similar to that in Japan.
So as a final question, and then I'll open it up for any questions that you guys have. So what, basically, there are a lot of musicians who come to Japan, they do a tour, they're like, oh man, this is great. You know, we're going to come back next year. We're going to come back, but they actually end up not returning. You, as you said, you know, come back and come back and come back. What can you like summarize? What type of progress do you feel that you're making as you continue to come back and come back?
Well, let me just say, Duane, I love you and you'll never get rid of me. Duane has gotten me some really fun and interesting gigs. I have made fans, I have made friends, and I have had wonderful experiences that I will remember for the rest of my life and cherish. So because of those reasons, I will continue to do this. I have a successful and have had a successful music career for a long time that is profitable, and I'm a lucky person to be able to afford multiple travels per year internationally. And so that is part of my business model, is I budget for that travel so that I can go to places, and particularly I want to go to Japan and spend time there. So that is what's behind the systems of how I'm able to make this happen. And I keep coming back, even though I'm maybe not becoming overnight famous, or not, you know, not raking in thousands of ticket sales and making a big profit, but I'm making small progress, gaining those fans one day at a time, gaining those friends, and I'm learning with each and every new connection I make. I learn more about the culture. I make a new connection. Pretty much every performance I have done, each and every performance of each and every tour, I have made at least one fan or one new friend. And from that, I've learned more. And from each one of those, it's connected me to the next thing. So each gig brings about a new gig. Each gig brings about a new gig. And some of it has brought in referrals to me, for which I connected with Duane and said, Duane, check this out. Actually, at the last gig, this person was interested in me. So then I've been able to grow. And that's what it's about. It's changing from a push style where it's like, oh, I need to push this artist. I need to push this artist. You gain the momentum where now people are pulling and requesting the artist. That's where you're getting traction. And that has happened to me now. So I feel honored to have that. Just the fact that there are people in Japan who like me and are asking for me, it's a dream come true, and it's an honor. And I'm so happy to get on that plane and travel to Japan and see my friends and share music with them. The fact that I am requested and I am welcomed there, that was my goal, and I've achieved it. And so I have my purpose now, and I'm just working to make that bigger and bigger each day.
Is in your opinion, is there a specific key or specific way, just like that magic touch to reach that level?
You know, yeah, you can't synthesize it, you can't package it. Everybody's results will vary, but time-tested knowledge that I have applied that seems to be working for me is smile, be friendly and gentle, and be approachable, and be outgoing, of course, we all have various levels of outgoingness or shyness, introvertedness, but do your best to reach out and try to make an introduction or make a contact or say hi. I guess what has helped me is being able to speak a little bit of Japanese. I am by no means fluent at all, but I have just enough where I can say a few words here and there to be able to communicate with people. And for those people that don't speak English, the fact that I'm speaking some Japanese kind of makes them like me. So it gives them a purpose to want to like me. And then I might have just enough to speak with them, say, hi, I'm Paul. This is my website. Do you like my songs? Or, hey, nice to meet you. Wow, you can play guitar. That's so cool. Kakoe is basically a way to say cool. And being able to say something back to them and to communicate. That has probably helped me. The second thing that has helped me is having a good website and social media presence. Working with Duane, he has translators on his team that helps to translate for me so that I have a page on my website that's all in Japanese, so that for those fans and business people interested or wanting to know about me, they can read and learn everything about me in Japanese, my biography, my upcoming schedule, all the necessary information. It's available in English and Japanese.
Cool. Any questions, Guna? You've been sitting and pondering, I see.
I was just listening and making notes. Thank you.
Sure.
So that's good. That's good to know. I had one question. You were telling about local musicians in Japan that they are like working with record company or management as on a salary based. But how is like if any, I don't know, record company starting to work with international artists, what's the approach there? Because obviously it's not how that can work, because most likely some European artists can't be employee of a record company in Japan. How does that kind of work?
So in general, the most notable, recognizable is P Vine, P as in, and like grapevine, vine, P Vine records, but they do exist. However, they only distribute. They distribute and sell. And I've had several musicians contact me, my company, and ask for help doing a tour because they are supported or contracted with P-Vine. So P-Vine doesn't really provide anything beyond the distribution and music aspect of it. In terms of live performance and touring, that's on your own. If you can get here and set up some stuff, P-Vine might throw you, one opportunity or something like that. But as far as live performance, that's up to you. And the finances for that are typical distribution contract kind of situation.
And what would be, like, for example, suggestions like we are going with Carnival Youth now to do first shows, and how to approach the PR side? Should we look for some PR company, PR person, or what's, because we are having the new single in a month as well, so we could kind of start up seeing if it's something for the Japanese audiences. We do distribute through Orchard, and we have a good team here in Europe who can reach out to the distribution partners in Asia. But what about like the PR side? How to best approach?
So, Guna, very good question. I might jump into it. So, if there's information that you do want to post or share through your social media, Duane and his team, they do have people that can help you translate the message, maybe tailor it, or even develop an image or something to share on your social media pages with the appropriate language for promotional purposes. Getting those messages out. That's important, you know, letting people know your plans and what's upcoming. Then I was also thinking, Guna, you'd mentioned, well, what about in the future if you do grow and you were to play live? There are venues that I know about in both Osaka and Tokyo. Is a venue called Billboard Live. It's kind of one of it's for major artists, but they do also have some minor or mid-level artists that perform there. And they do hire international artists. The Billboard Tokyo and Osaka are very connected, so you might get like 2 shows with them where you'll play one and the other. And they do pay artists from Europe and the United States that are big stars that are known. They'll give them a guaranteed fee because they can do that type of contract paperwork to pay somebody and authorize them to come here. But again, that's when you have achieved fame and acclaim. I'm thinking about like a person that tours there often, Babyface, the famous R&B vocalist from America, or Brian McKnight. And I've seen, I think years ago, the famous blues artist Albert Collins played there, performed there. You know, big major artists like that. So, and I've reached out to them in the past, and they actually did email me back, and they you know, truthfully told me I wasn't big enough or qualified enough to play there, but they did communicate with me, which I found kind, because there's a lot of venues that will often never answer you back. So they answered back, and it looks like the booking manager did speak English, so they speak English with me. So that's a case where eventually, when you do make it, when people do see the value in you, that they will offer you contracts and say, come and play, we can pay you this much, will you accept the show or not? But you got to get there first, and the only way to get there is to get the fans. And you know, if we're starting again, so like Duane said, we're basically starting at the bottom, but the joy and the adventure to pursue it and work your way up is great.
Yeah, that's actually pretty impressive, Paul, to actually get a response from Billboard Live. It's pretty good. So yeah, they have, you know, George Clinton and Kirk Franklin and the Supremes and the really big names.
They almost had Paul Steward.
But to answer your question directly, Guna, PR primarily is done by word of mouth in Japan. So spending money on advertisements on Facebook is actually a waste of money if you're looking at the Japanese market. Spending money even for an advertisement online is not really money well spent, because Japanese go based on what they recognize, what they know. So if they see, for example, Carnival Youth, who's this? And they'll move on. But if you connect with someone who likes your music, another musician, for example, who likes your music, they will introduce you to their friends, and then it passes on to that way. So social networking, connecting with Japanese music fans or people who have come to Latvia and played and really enjoy Latvia, or people who enjoy Latvian culture or other things like that. That's your best way to make connections and promote the music that you're playing.
Thank you. We'll do some more research.
If I could offer an example, Guna, was, so on my second tour, from my first tour that I played, Duane had, I performed a gig in Osaka at a venue called Fire Cafe. And a few people came and went. And one person that came was the lady who does events at, in Osaka, the monthly event at the little rental that's in the hotel. Her name escapes me right now. But basically, she was a referral from Duane. Duane had shared out to his network, you know, hey, here's Paul Steward's upcoming tour. And so one of Duane's friends had saw it and found some interest into it. So she came to see my performance, and she really enjoyed the music. She became my fan, for which then she hosts, as kind of a hobby or a side project, she does these monthly gatherings for English conversation and cultural exchange in Osaka. And she has a little rental space, an event center that she uses. So her and Duane then on the future tour had set me up to do sort of a lecture to speak with the people, and then also to do a performance in combination. And that worked out well. They had sold quite a few tickets to the event. I think it was a sellout. It was a small room, but it was sold out. So that was an honor to me that all these people actually bought a ticket to come and see me perform and speak on topics.
Right. You're speaking of
that was wonderful.
Keiko, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing to recognize coming to Japan, it should not be all about just the music. And so that's one reason why KMC is working with schools. It's not just music, it's about your culture, because Japan's it's an island country and they don't have a lot of exposure to outside culture, so they're very eager to learn about outside culture. So bring not only your music, but some souvenirs, culture, something about yourself that can also create a bridge, a connection to people who are not so interested about music, but they're interested about cultural exchange. And then you combine the two and you develop more fans. Oh, you play music too? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I love your music, and so on. And you're able to get more people that way. Simon, I had someone from Australia last year, a drummer. She brought me like a present, a thing of Vegemite.
Ah, yeah, classic.
I finished it pretty quickly, and I was like, wow. I need some more Vegemite.
Yeah, I know. You either love it or you hate it, and if you love it, it's very addictive. So maybe I could find some space in my luggage.
Yeah.
But
did you have a question?
No, I think it's a great point about the cultural thing, and there's some really fascinating stuff about Australian culture that I'd love to share with people in Japan. But I guess my other question was about accommodation. And I know I can just jump on booking.com and see what is the cheapest out there, or Airbnb, but any recommendations as to, because it can make a big difference who you stay with as to, what your experience is like on tour or
I'll
traveling.
Jump in before Paul real quick. Do beware the cheapest. Of course, the cheapest is not always the best. We had a band from India that came the same year Paul was here, I think. And they found a cheap place, and it was on the 5th floor with no stairs. And the drummer really injured his back carrying up gear and other stuff. So do be aware that cheap is not necessarily good for you. Paul, you have anything to add?
Right. Yeah. Cheap is not the best. So, do you know about like these little like cubicle types of what are they called? Capsule hotels.
Yeah,
I've heard. I've heard of them, but I didn't know if it was just like an urban myth or something. But
no, it's real. They're everywhere. It's you can pay like, I think the cheapest one that I've seen, probably the equivalent of like $5 US. You can pay to basically sleep in a tiny little bed. It's about 3 feet 3 feet wide. Just big enough to lay in. It'll just suit your body, and you have just enough room to kind of get up and out of the bed, and that's all you're buying, as well as access to public showers and a public restroom and a public sink to shave and prepare for the day. It's cheap, but considering that, think about it. Where are you going to put your guitar? Where are you going to put your luggage? They have a holding area typically behind the front desk, but it's going to feel concerning. You'll have to leave your gear there. Japan is very safe. Nobody will steal your gear. They will keep an eye on it. But that's the cheapest. And generally it's going to be clean and safe. But sometimes I have heard that some places are not as clean or can be messy. And then it might not have an elevator. So you might have to walk up 5 or 6 levels upstairs just to get to your sleeping pod.
Yeah.
Another
So that
thing,
is the cheapest. So beware of that. And I know that after a gig of carrying my guitar around and my equipment around on and off trains and walking all over Osaka or Tokyo, I'm tired and I would rather have at least a normal sized room where I can lay down and relax.
right.
Yeah.
Another thing that has come up, I have not experienced because I stay at relatively mid-level business hotels, but I have heard from some Japanese that due to, and I won't name any names, but due to some tourists that come from some underdeveloped countries, bed bugs are finding their way into some of the hotels in Japan. So you do want to be aware that, you know, again, cheap is not necessarily the best.
I did have one other question, if you don't mind. It's just around loop pedals. My solo show these days often has a few tracks that I use a loop pedal to build up, you know, layers and parts in the song. Is that something that's common in Japan and will be sort of welcomed as something interesting and fun, or is it more considered to be, you know, a distraction?
Paul?
Yeah, it's welcome. I saw a Japanese artist, a local artist, perform with looping, solo and performing with looping at the Kansai Music Conference.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what, that was 2022, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was a solo artist. He played acoustic guitar and he did loops.
Mm-hmm.
There, that should be his page.
Epstein, yeah, he goes by Epstein, which is interesting. It was a Western name, but he's totally Japan based.
Oh, okay.
So he does loops, and I've seen it somewhere. I saw like kind of a street performer at another thing in Tokyo, and they were also using loops. And so I've seen it in Japan. Yeah. You can perform solo just traditionally, or you can use loops. I have probably 90% of my 80 to 90% of my performances have been with backing tracks. So I completely record all of my bass and drums and keyboards and arrangements, and then I sing and play live guitar to my tracks. That's what I'm doing most of the time. A couple of performances I've just strictly done just guitar and vocal, but that's rare. A lot of times I use the tracks. People are able to hear the exact arrangement of my recording, so that if they like my live show and they decide to go and stream my music on YouTube or Spotify, what they saw is what they will get, and vice versa. If they're streaming it, then they come to see the live show, it'll sound as they had expected it to sound.
And that's another thing. Thanks for that, Paul. If you bring CDs or recorded music, bring copies of what you're going to play, because many times if you have CDs, you finish your set and people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to buy a CD. Which CD has the songs on it that you played today? So that's going to be a big
Yeah,
thing.
I get that a lot in Germany as well.
Right. Okay.
People want to hear the songs at home that they heard there. Yeah.
I've got someone who got the time zones wrong. He just showed up to
The other question is, people do still buy CDs in Japan and vinyl, presumably?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each of my tours, I've sold a handful of CDs, not too many, but I have sold.
And what about other merch like T-shirts and tote bags and that kind of stuff? Do people buy that much in Japan?
Yes, but it has to be marketed. For example, like something that just says Simon Hudson on it isn't really going to sell compared to something with, like, you know, a big cute animal that Japanese people can identify with, and then under it said Simon, you know, something like that.
Yeah, do a separate run of something more Japanese specific.
Exactly.
You might be able to sell your specific merchandise. Again, if you do make that connection, you have a great performance, and you do find those people that become into you, then they'll also want to adopt your imagery and your artistry. So, but that's, that's
Yeah.
you could make a Japan exclusive merch, or you could just try to, sell the current merch that you have, and people may like it or may not. So.
Yeah.
Jody, unfortunately, you were 1 hour late.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. in England. I couldn't get up at 6.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
Sorry about that.
No worries at all. Okay, so if that's it, Jody, did you want to ask any specific question real quick?
Yeah, I mean, the question I had written down was how to maximize like engagement and long-term connections if I've got a tour going through Japan.
Okay.
How to maximize engagement and connections. Use the Line app. Have Line app on your smartphone so you can connect with people. Line app is the main dominant messaging system of Japan.
Yeah, I've got Line.
Okay.
Okay, good. And how to make long-term connections, be able to speak some Japanese, and constantly keep up with it. Keep in contact with your friends and your fans. Hey, how you doing? How to keep touring. Reach out to Duane. Do 2 or 3 tours a year. Or if you can't do that, at least go and visit Japan often. I may or may not go there at least 4 times a year.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on moving to Vietnam because it's closer, like, than England, and then maybe move to Japan longer term.
Mm-hmm. I've been to Vietnam before. It's very hot there. The food's very different.
Yeah. Seems very close to Japan. Like you can get over to Japan for like £100. So if I could stay there for a while, I could nip back and forward quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go on and shut this session for today. This will be it has been recorded. It will be posted on the Performing in Japan page for everyone to check out, probably within the next couple of days.
Nice one. I'll check that out. Thanks.
Cool. So
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone for joining. Yes.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
See you
Thank
in the
you.
fall.
Guna,
Yeah.
Simon, nice to meet you. Thank you so much and good luck. Duane, thank you.
Oh, yes. Great. See you
Thanks for
next
the info, Paul. Appreciate it.
time. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.